What's going on, everyone? It's Hero, and for my first video for Rise of Iron, I wanted to make something that I thought everyone could at least benefit from upon starting the expansion, and that is a guide to my recommended vendor roles, vendor weapon roles, that is, for both PvP and PvE. So we'll cover each of the 5 vendors, and I'm not going to, waste your time with talking about roles that I think are substandard or just, not outstanding in any way. I'm only going to focus on the highlights from each vendor. So to start things off here, we'll start with the Crucible Quartermaster. And for PvP, I think the standouts are the hand cannon, the palindrome, the fusion rifle, each new day, and the sniper, the event horizon. So starting with the hand cannon, the palindrome. The reason that I think this is good for PvP is that if you don't have a well-rolled AS Luna, this gun will do a fantastic job as a substitute. It comes stock with rangefinder, rifled barrel, spray and play, and okay sights. So this is definitely a worthy pickup if you don't have a good AS Luna. Moving on, Fusion. Each new day comes with some interesting perks. Counterbalance for one on a fusion rifle, as well as hand-laid stock and unflinching, which means that this thing is going to have some crazy projectile, I want to say lack of spread, because stability on fusion rifles basically means how much your bolts kind of deviate, if you will, once you fire. So this is going to have a very, very tight grouping, and couple that with unflinching. This could be a good gun for the Crucible if you like fusion rifles. And then the last weapon I would recommend for PvP, and also for PvE with this one, is the sniper rifle, the Event Horizon. Talking about black holes, of course. Anyhow, comes stock with hidden hand, small bore to give you near max range, as well as short gaze, which I think is probably the best scope for PvP. Another thing I will say about this weapon right here is it is in the highest impact archetype of sniper rifles, which has been previously quite rare, limited to just in the Taken King solely black spindle. And with the changes to snipers and the Crucible, this is the impact tier that you need to snipe guardians out of roaming supers with medium to high armor. So this weapon comes fairly well recommended from me. I mean, obviously you could do better with like the raid sniper or maybe a better role, but this role is not bad. In terms of PvE, as I mentioned, the Event Horizon would work well, but the only standout for PvE that I saw was the shotgun, the 44 Curtain Call. It's a kind of mid to high impact and low-ish rate of fire shotgun, but main thing is it comes with crowd control, rifled barrel, and cascade, which I think is for PvE is not a bad perk at all. You could also throw aggressive ballistics on there for a little bit more damage. So I think for PvE, and if you like shotguns, this would be a worthwhile early pickup. Alright, so moving on to the Vanguard weapons. To be totally honest with you guys, after kind of analyzing the weapons and the rules that are on sale here, I was not really impressed by really any of them. The one standout that I think for PvE and for PvE that is decent is the Angel's Advocate Scout Rifle. In case you did not notice, it is in the Mida archetype of scout rifles, which is actually quite rare for a weapon that is not Mida. In terms of perks, you get reactive reload, explosive rounds, small bore, outlaw, and okay-ish sights. Like I said, I wasn't really blown away with any of the Vanguard weapons, but I think this is the one standout, mostly just because it's in the Mida archetype, and it comes with some perks that I think can make it competitive in both PvE and PvP. But other than that, just taking a look through at these weapons, I just really don't feel that any of them are worth your legendary marks at this point in the expansion. And really, even the Angel's Advocate is just okay, but I think that's the one standout from the Vanguard weapon. Next up is Dead Orbit. And for these guys, I have two recommendations, one for PvP and one for PvE. For PvP, I'm going to recommend the shotgun, the Last Ditch 001. For the main reason, or I should say the main reason being, is that this shotgun is in the same archetype as Matador, which is probably the best shotgun for PvP. In addition to that, it comes stock with rangefinder and hammer forge to give you a pretty impressive range, close to the range cap. You also get quick draw, which is really, really good, especially in this fast-paced shotgun meta we have right now. So I think that is, if you aren't getting lucky with your Matador drops or your Matador rolls, or you don't have a decent shotgun, this is a great place to start. Highly recommended. And then for PvE, I'm going to recommend the Keystone 01. It's in the Colavance's Duty super hard-hitting archetype of scout rifle. Comes stock with crowd control, your choice of perfect balance or triple tap, two good perks, and then extended magazines with good sights. So, for PvE, this is a great hard-hitting rifle. You're going to be one-shotting most lower-tier mobs and doing a significant amount of damage to majors and elites. And of course, with triple tap means, you have an effective, or I should say triple tap combined with extended magazine gives you a fairly substantial effective magazine size. I'm not actually sure what the exact number would be, but significantly more than 14. So this is my recommendation from Dead Orbit for PvE. I think all the other weapons are just okay, or just plain not worth using. My personal favorite faction is next up. And for Future War Cult, I have two PvP recommendations and two PvE recommendations. For PvP, I'm going to recommend the Pulse Rifle, the Waltz, and the Fusion Rifle, the Waiting. Starting off with the Waltz, the first thing you'll notice is that finally we have another weapon that is in the Grasp of Malak Pulse Rifle archetype. So that's your very high rate of fire pulse rifle. This weapon has an okay roll. You get rangefinder for more range and perfect balance for more stability with some kind of meh sights. For this archetype, I really think you need more stability and something like counterbalance, but this is not a bad roll for PvP. I think this archetype is perhaps the best pulse rifle archetype for PvP, although the Hawksaw archetype, you could make some arguments there. So definitely a decent PvP pulse. And then once again, I think Future War Cult is bringing an excellent stock fusion rifle to the table. This is your very high impact fusion rifle that's going to kill, and I think 4 bursts. Don't quote me on that though. You get rangefinder to increase your projectile speed, and perfect balance to help tighten your bolt spread. Additionally, you can also select knee pads, and of course hip fire, which is great on fusion rifles. So that would be my recommendations for PvP for Future War Cult. For PvE, I'm going to recommend the Whale hand cannon as well as the Wounded scout rifle. The Whale, the main reason that I'm recommending it is that it's in the Fatebringer archetype and it has Firefly and a range perk. If you like hand cannons and you don't have one that has Firefly, I think this is a good starting place. It also has okay sights. And then additionally, recommending the Wound, again, solely because it's in that Vision of Confluence workhorse proven scout rifle for PvE. You get Zen Moment, Outlaw, which is, I think, a great perk on scout rifles, and Quick Draw with okay sights. So, decent offering, again, from Future War Cult this time around. And last, but certainly not least, we have New Monarchy. I only have a few recommendations here. by the way. My first recommendation for PvP is going to be the auto rifle, the Assembly 2. This mainly comes from the fact that it's in the Doctrine of Passing archetype, which I believe is probably the most consistent and reliable in the Crucible, and the fact that it comes with both counterbalance and perfect balance to give you a very easy to control rifle. You also get quick draw, which is always great, and okay sights. The second weapon I'm going to recommend for PvP is the Deposition 7, the sniper rifle. With the latest nerf to sniper rifles, I think this archetype is a little bit more viable than it was before, and you get your choice of, well, you get unflinching, and then your choice of hammer forged or mulligan. I think mulligan is the better of the two, and it comes stock with snapshot and short gaze, and you guys know my thoughts on short gaze. So this would be my recommendations for PvP. My only PvE recommendation is going to be the shotgun, the Bad Counsel 4. It's a little bit higher rate of fire, a little bit lower damage. Comes stock with full auto, your choice of Cascade or Hammer Forged, and I think Extended Magazine will be your go-to in this column. So if you like the sort of more spammy shotguns, just hitting a lot of really hard hits pretty quickly on trash mobs or bosses, this is not a bad choice at all if you like I said, the spammy sort of shotguns. So that wraps up my vendor weapon recommendations for Rise of Iron. Obviously you're going to probably want to be questing for the raid weapons and other in-game gear, but as we're starting out in the expansion, I think the weapons that I mentioned are at least worth considering purchasing with your legendary marks to help get you started in both the Crucible as well as PvE. So as always, I'd like to say thank you for your time, and I hope to see you around. Take care.